Sure, all your questions are answered and we calling out some people. Seconds, finish up whichever one you're on. All right, you can go ahead and put your pen or your pencil down for just a minute. So all this week, since we've sort of finished up our study of world history, we've been talking more about what the world is like today and what are some of the major things that have changed, especially over the past 100 years in the world that we live in. The handout that you guys just read is actually one of my favorite that we go over all year because it does a really good job of just giving a snapshot of what our world is like today, what religion is like, what gender is like, how most people actually live. So this document says if we shrunk the entire population of the world down into a village of 100 people, this is what the village would look like based on all these factors. So we're going to go through this handout and we're going to talk about some of the reflection questions that you guys just answered. So the first category of information about our village is gender. Nayeli, could you read the section for gender in this handout?
51 would be women, except in Asia, 148 would be women, 49 would be men, except in Asia, 160 would be men.
Thank you, Nayeli. So we can see that around the world there's actually a few more women than men today, except in Asia, where there's actually more men than women. All of this is true. So our first reflection question, why do you think that it's just in Asia that we have more men than women? Mario, what'd you say? Could you say that again a little louder, because that's exactly right.
In China, you could only have one child, preferably a boy.
Very good, merit to Mario. In the two most populated countries in Asia, China and India, boys are actually preferred. They are seen as being more valuable to the family than girls are. If you don't have this response under number one, you should be adding to it because that is our correct answer. Boys are preferred in many parts of Asia, and in countries like China, which is the most populated country where they can only have one baby, like we talked about, they specifically try to have boys rather than girls, so this results in this difference in the gender. Nice job, Mario. Ashley, could you read the section for location about our global village?
60 would be Asian, 14 would be African, 12 would be European, 8 would be Central South America, 5 would be from the US and Canada, 1 would be from Australia, and India.
Thank you, Ashley. So we can see that most of the people in our village, 60% are from Asia. Again, this is totally true in our world today. And most Asian people come from two countries. What are these two countries? Andrea's absent. Thomas.
China and Japan.
China's one, but it's not Japan. Remember, Japan's pretty tiny. Anthony?
India.
India. China and India. So most people in our world come from Asia, and of that group, most of them are from China and India, the two most populated countries in our world. Isaiah, could you read this section on the global village for religion for me?
33 would be Christian, 22 would be Muslim, 15 would be Hindu, 6 would be Buddhist, 10 would belong to the religion Judaism, and Islam, etc. 14 would be non-religious.
Thank you, Isaiah. So we see in this group that 14% of the world's population is actually non-religious or atheist today. They don't believe in God. This is a higher number than has ever existed in the world before. So why do we think that suddenly in our world there are so many people that choose not to practice a religion? Ricardo, what do you think?
There are, like, the ideas from religion are changing.
How do you think they're changing, these religious ideas?
Like, people don't really like believe in God or anything anymore. They mostly believe in like science and stuff.
Fantastic, merit to Ricardo. Religion around the world has declined in importance in the last 100 years. And a lot of that is because it's been replaced by new ideas like scientific ideas. There's a big debate that goes on in the world still today on whether or not God actually exists, because now people are focusing more on things like science and evolution. So around the world, religion, that's not to say that there are not still a lot of people who are religious in our world today, but overall it has decreased in importance from what it used to be. Monica, could you read the next section in our handout for language?
14 would speak Mandarin Chinese, 8 would speak English, 8 would speak Hindi, language of India, 7 would speak Spanish, 5 would speak Russian, 5 would speak Arabic, 4 would be Portuguese, 3 would speak Japanese, 46 other languages would have one speaker each.
Thank you, Monica. So 14 of our villagers, the biggest percentage, speak Mandarin Chinese. Most commonly spoken language in the world today. Oh, Monica, also hold your popsicle stick. What do you think this means for trade?
Learning to trade is, it can be hard for other foreign.
So trade would be hard for what kinds of people in particular?
For other.
Who's trade going to be hard for in this village? Thomas?
People who speak Latin-based, like Latin-based words, like Spanish or English.
Fantastic. I like that you use good vocabulary. People that speak Latin-based languages or languages like English. Chinese is becoming an increasingly important language for trade today. Down in Houston, Texas, where I used to live, KIPP high schools, like the ones you guys are sitting in right now, teach Mandarin Chinese because they know that it's going to be so important for business people in the future. It's the most commonly spoken language in the world. Turning the page in our handout, health and nutrition. Mateo, can you read the section for health and nutrition for me?
16 would be underfed and suffer from nutrition. 2 would be near death, 1 would be near going. 2 would be near birth, 1 would be near death. 1 would be dying of AIDS and would be African. 15 would be overweight and most would be from the United States.
Thanks, Mateo. So most of our overweight people in our village are from the United States. Obesity is a huge problem in our country today. Where do you guys think the underfed, the malnourished villagers, what region do they primarily come from? Ethan?
Africa, Australia, and South America.
Africa, definitely. Not so much Australia. Australia's pretty developed, but yes, South America some. Also parts of the Middle East, but mostly in Africa. Starvation is a problem that affects the region of Africa today more than any other region because of all of the problems we talked about just a few weeks ago with colonization and resource use. So most of our underfed villagers are going to be the ones coming from Africa. Next section, wealth. Steve, read wealth for me.
So 33 would work in agriculture, 61 work in industry, 6 would be unemployed, 6 would own, 59 under the wealth and would be from the United States, 18 would live on less than $1 a day, 47 would live on less than $2 a day, 8 would have money in the bank, money in their wallet, or some spare change.
Thanks, Steve. So next question. Almost all of the wealthiest people in our village come from the United States. Why do we think that is? Why do we think that the wealthiest people in the world are from this country? Today's absent. Ashley, what do you think?
Because they're usually people's most people in most of the country.
So maybe we produce more? Other ideas? Diego?
I disagree. I believe that capitalism likes to
What is it about capitalism that is leading to all these rich Americans?
not everybody is equal in society, so people have a chance to make money. Whereas in India, the caste system, all they don't have now, but you have to stay in a certain level.
Equal competition between people? Other ideas? Why Why do we have so many rich Americans in our world, Mario?
Trade.
What do you mean by trade?
The U.S. Yeah, we trade more with China.
Very nice. All those things that you guys have just said are actually correct. Remember on Monday we learned that the United States has the biggest economy in the world. We are one of the highest producing countries in the world, like Ashley said. We have a capitalist system which allows for a lot of competition and a lot of success, like Diego said. And we are one of the biggest trading partners with countries all over the world, like Mario said. Because of these huge opportunities for advancement, most of the richest people in the world today come from the United States. Next section, living standard. Ricardo, could you read living standard for me?
So you would consume 8% of renewable energy. 80 would live in substandard or inadequate housing. 24 would not have electricity in the home. 7 would own a car. 7 would have a computer with internet access. 42 would have a radio. 24 would have a television. 33 would not have clean, safe water to drink. 43 would not have access to a toilet.
Thank you, Ricardo. We're going to go ahead and read the next section as well. What haven't I picked on yet? Diana, could you read personal safety for me?
48 would be unable to speak and act according to their faith and conscience without the threat of harassment, imprisonment, torture, or death. 52 would live in fear of death by armed attack, bombing, rape, or kidnapping on a daily basis.
So we can see that most of our villagers are not safe. They live under the threat of death, rape, bombing, attack. Most of the people in our world today who live in these situations that are unsafe, what kind of government do you think that these people live under, Nayeli? Possibly communism? Think more like broader. Mateo, would you put?
Mostly the dictatorships.
Dictatorships would be one. So a lot of our people who live in fear live under some kind of dictatorship, like communism in North Korea, a religious dictatorship in the Middle East. But there's one also kind of government that people can live under and be really unsafe. Broader. Anybody have any ideas? Monica?
Monarchy?
No, there aren't too many real monarchies left in the world. No, okay, Diana?
Under totalitarian. You know what I'm trying to say?
What is it?
Totalitarianism.
Totalitarianism. Very good. So that would be like similar to a dictatorship. Other situations, Isaiah?
Liberal?
What do you mean by liberal?
Oh, in the French, when they were liberal, when they were fighting.
Okay, so we're on the right track. So we could also say that we live in a liberal government here in the United States, but we're pretty safe. But you're hitting onto something, Thomas.
Like liberal, so like you know how the tribes in Africa, how each military changes up.
You guys are talking about governments that are unstable. When you have governments that are changing a lot, like what happened in the French Revolution, like what's happening in some parts of Africa where different militaries are taking over really quickly, if you live in a place where the government's unstable and changing a lot, you tend to live in a lot of fear. It's a pretty dangerous and unstable area. Nice. Okay, let's see. Thomas, can you read education for me?
34 would be unable to read. 14 would have a high school education. 1 would have a college education.
Thanks, Thomas. So our next question, our one villager with a college education is from China. True in the world today. What does that mean for the United States? Well, Pops will stick first, and I'll take some context. Brian.
I said that that's true because China has a top-notch education system compared to the United States.
So what does that mean for the United States?
Well, that we are not as intelligent as they are.
Maybe not as intelligent. We are as intelligent. Okay, let's not go there. But we are certainly, our students are graduating not being as educated as students in China. We talked on Monday about how China has this superior education system to the United States, and that is one of the main reasons that China is predicted to overtake the United States as the most powerful country in the world within our lifetimes. Okay, a couple more. Last page. Anthony, could you read the section on the land for me? Some other facts about the village.
40% of the land is used to grow food for all 100 people. The percent of land used for farming increases every year. So only one people produce 90% of the village pollution. The village is running out of oil, water, fish, and many types of food. One person in the village is actively trying to find solutions to the land's problems.
So, let's go ahead and read the last section because that applies. Leslie, can you read how fast is the village growing?
In 1000 BCE, there was only one person. In 500 BCE, there were 2 people. In 1 CE, there were 3 people. In 1800 CE, there were 17 people. In 1900 CE, there were 32 people. In 2000 CE, there were 100 people.
Thank you, Leslie. So we can see that the population of our village is growing extremely fast, particularly in the last 100 years. There are 2 major reasons, again, total facts, 2 major reasons that our population is increasing so fast. You only had to write one on your paper. Does anybody, I'm almost out of popsicle sticks, anybody have an idea of one thing that's causing the population to grow? Brian?
I would say medical advances because back then there were diseases and we didn't have like cures, and now people get sick and you can cure them with nothing.
Merit to Brian, absolutely true. Medical advancement. We have cured smallpox. We have cured measles. We have vaccinations for these things. So these diseases that used to kill thousands and thousands of people, we've cured. Another major advancement is for us lovely ladies, childbirth. Most of the world's women used to die having babies. Now we have awesome things like ultrasounds and cesarean sections, so we don't die as much having those cute little kids. Medical advancement's one reason. Anybody want to take a shot at the second, Isaiah?
People started having a lot of sex.
No more than in the past. No more than, but we are having more babies because of medicine. That's tied to medicine. Other ideas? Another big factor. Mateo?
Food.
Food. We are producing way more food than we ever have in the past because of something known as the Green Revolution, which we are going to learn about today. We have more food to feed more people, and people aren't dying as much because of medicine. Those are 2 major factors that have caused our population to explode in the last 100 years. One last question, and this is tied to population. So the population of this village means that they're using up all of their resources. They're using up their water, they're using up their coal, and only one person in the village is actively trying to solve these environmental problems. What do you think this means for the future of our village? Mario?
There might be some survival, like they might not find the cure or whatever they're trying to find.
Might not be able to save the environment, Mateo, then Isaiah?
It's basically like either everyone has to like change in a certain way in order to save themselves, or if they don't, they possibly like end up destroyed.
Fantastic, Mateo. So either people are going to change what they're doing, more people are going to try to solve these problems, or it could eventually be the end of civilization if we run out of resources in our village. So that's just a quick snapshot of what our world is like today. Are there any last questions on anything we talked about? So we're going to focus on one section of our global village today, which is the one that Mateo just talked about. We're going to talk about humans and the environment today, which is a major event, major factor